This is Jake Ferris. She's about to bet everything, and we mean everything, that she can turn the next guy she meets into a singing sensation.
All right. The next normal person that comes by, I'll take him. The next...
Okay.
I mean, the next guy that passes in front of my face. And
Whoa! How you doing? Nice night. You lift?
Good luck, Jay.
You can hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay. All right. It says we're recording, but I can't get a a thing on there. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to Pod Stallions. I am Brian, and with me, as always, is Jason, because if he wasn't here, the show would be Pod Stallion.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'd be talking to myself, and I do enough of that. So it's good to hear your voice, sir.
A solo spinoff. Thank you.
A solo spinoff.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to hear your voices and your voice, Brian. This is here we are again. It's we made it past the 100th episode mark, and rather than just rest on our laurels and go into syndication, we thought, no, we got Fred Freiberger on as new showrunner.
That's right, and he's got exciting changes for us.
Really interesting new way to take the show, I think.
So Abe Mandel in New York has asked for more monsters.
Yeah, and it was part of the letter writing campaign, was to make some changes to keep the show on. So here we are. We're going to keep going with it. And we appreciate all the kind words about the last episode, the 100th episode, and all the sentiments, and it means a lot.
And the gift baskets were just great.
Oh, you got gift baskets?
Oh, tons, yeah. You did?
No, I didn't.
Oh, really? I got edible bouquets, flowers. Wonderful, wonderful.
I got a certificate for a pedicure.
Oh, well, that's a gift that...
but I think it was a mistake.
Oh, yeah. I'll take it.
All right. Well, that's all I got. I didn't get any three-dimensional things.
I'm kidding. I got kudos. And this is now the 16th anniversary of the site itself as well.
Of the
Pod Stallions.
Is it the 16th anniversary of Plaid Stallions?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
It's weird. The only reason I know it is because I started it a week or two before my daughter's first birthday. So as her birthday approaches, I go, oh, yeah. It's like a year younger than my daughter. Yeah, who actually inspired me to create the site because I was home with her and she was just a baby, and you could sit around and watch TV, and I thought I'll make a blog. That was the thing to do back then.
I wish I could. It's like this little piece of Pod Stallions lore that's kind of missing. Is I wish I could remember how I first came across the site. I remember when it was. I roughly recall the year, the first time I kind of reached out to you. And I remember getting lost on the site, like just.
Yeah, I seem to recall that you reached. I think I might know because you sent me images of yourself with some apes, and I thought that was fun.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. I sent you images of me with apes?
Yep.
With apes?
Yeah. Okay,
this is not ringing.
Really? I'm just gonna try and find it.
Was one of I think I maybe sent maybe there was one at Conan with an ape?
Yeah, and that was your first appearance on the site. And yeah, I'm just trying to think where and when that was.
Well, it's got to be because the first note I sent was, "Hey, I just found your site. What a treat." And then I kind of said who I was, and then you said, "Oh my God, that's so weird. I just picked up the Flash."
Yeah. So my son was a little guy.
It would have put it at like 2007, I think, is when those hit the stores.
And I think I found it actually. I didn't see it at stores.
No, that's not right. That's not right.
Um,
Maybe 2006, maybe.
yeah. I know it was a mall appearance photo, and I posted just because I didn't have a lot of ape stuff, and I thought that's kind of fun.
But I can't remember how I first came across the website.
I wouldn't know.
That's what's always bugged me. Like, what was I looking at or looking for that I must have searched for something and then come across Plaid Stallions and then just went, what the? Because there was nothing like it. You know, the depth of catalog stuff that was up there. But yeah, 16 years, huh? That's crazy. Wow.
It is, and I just still want to do it, so that's great. And obviously, it's expanded and
yeah, leaps and bounds, all the things.
Making products, and my laundry detergent is just selling like crazy.
Yeah, well, that was really, I know that's what you sort of were pushing for back.
That was always the goal. Yeah. 16
years ago, your future in the detergent business, and you thought, well, if I can shoehorn that into this Plaid Stallions thing.
Yeah. Just build the blog, make the detergent, millionaire. That was the plan.
It's I think you've really had this sort of renaissance, if you will, last few years of just all of a sudden kicking it up into a whole other stratosphere with the.
It's been fun, the videos and all that stuff. It really has been.
The magazine, the new book, and the diet program.
My cult is opening up. If you want to get in on the ground floor.
Yeah. And by the way, it's a cult. Let's be clear. It's a cult. It's not a pyramid scheme.
That's right. Well, slow down. It's what we call a multi-level marketing.
Right. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not finished with my training yet.
Yeah, that's right.
Congratulations. That's great. That's very
good. So I've. Oh yeah, I'm just trying to remember our topic. We were going to talk about movies of the summer of 1984.
Yes.
I was 13 years old and a grade school graduate.
And let me be even more clear of how we got to this subject.
Yeah.
Not to toot my own horn, but I'm no dummy. Okay. I know that we managed to get a Dune episode out of this guy, Mr. Heiler, that I was able to finally get a 1984 version of Dune episode. I'm probably really pushing it, trying to get a Buckaroo Banzai episode.
Yeah.
I thought if there's a way to get Buckaroo Banzai some ads, some
I got a lot to say about Buckaroo Banzai, but like I said, yeah.
But I figured we could do it in the larger scope of 1984, and in a 90-minute episode, talk about Buckaroo Banzai for like an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. I don't want to breeze over Hard Bodies.
No. That would be shooting ourselves in the foot.
Sacrilege. So I'm assuming by our rules, we're going to say that May 2-4 weekend is the kickoff of summer movie season, correct?
May of 84, you said?
Yeah, like May 2-4 weekend, like the long weekend in May.
I would say so.
I don't know what you guys call that. We call it May 2-4. My wife calls it May Run.
Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, okay. We don't have that.
Yeah.
We just get drunk.
Right.
Okay, so that would bring us to our first film of the summer of 84, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yes. Now let's pause for a moment, because we did this other episode for 1982, which I think really is maybe the greatest genre year ever for the stuff that came out, the stuff that was groundbreaking, that had ripple effects, et cetera. But 84, the bulk of this stuff is summer stuff, but there was still stuff that might have come out in the fall. But I mean, most of these are summer probably, right? But like Dune would have come out at Christmas. But
Dune was a Christmas movie. There is some other stuff, but I thought we would just talk about summer, because that's basically
Temple of Doom was the first 84 summer of 84 movie then, huh?
Yeah, it was a Memorial Day weekend film.
Yeah, which was, we've talked about Indiana Jones several times on the show. We did the Raiders indie kind of anniversary episode with Ned.
Mm-hmm.
Temple of Doom is, I mean, you couldn't. I mean, the hype and the expectation for this thing. I mean, Raiders was gigantic, huge movie in a different way than the Star Wars films were. It just it ushered, like, it bettered the Bond films in many ways, and it sort of ushered in a lot of rip-offs and things like that. And, it was just I treat it as kind of a one-off. I like the other stuff, but Raiders is perfection to me. So needless to say, there was a lot of expectation and energy and excitement for this new movie. And boy, you'd be hard pressed to find a sequel to something so beloved that was so different than the first movie. I mean, even in a different way than like Empire to Star Wars. Empire is incredibly dark, but Temple of Doom is like a...
Do you know I have absolutely no memory of this film? I didn't see it in the theater. I don't remember seeing a commercial for it. The only thing I remember at this time was a really negative review of it I read in the paper.
There were a lot of negative reviews.
Yeah.
They kept using a term like headache inducing.
Yeah, my wife loves it, but again, she was 11 when she saw it, and I think I think that's a big factor. But I didn't see it then, and I'd always been told to just like avoid it.
I cannot believe you wouldn't have seen that in the for the summer movies, or that it wouldn't have come on. You haven't seen it ever, you mean?
I've never finished it. I've tried to watch it, and it annoys me. I'm not a big Indiana Jones guy.
You know what? Benjamin Button annoyed me, but I finished it. Goddammit.
I wish I had walked out of The Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps.
I'm a finisher.
But I don't know. It was raining outside.
If it kills me, I'm a finisher. Temple of Doom is a really great blueprint of the notion of let's top the first one. Like the Bond films did it very well progressively in the early. They just kind of kept pushing.
They need a bigger stunt. They need yeah.
Whereas Temple of Doom was like the thing that was so wonderful about Raiders is, for the most part, besides the melting faces and things like that, but for the most part, you believe that a guy could go through this stuff, because that's kind of what the essence of Bond was. That it wasn't, he's not a superhero. He's going to get beat up, and Indiana Jones would feel the hurt more than Bond ever did at that point. But you kind of believed it. Whereas Temple of Doom, starts winking at the audience and the original, and sort of turning the volume all the way up to 11, so that everything is heightened. So there's good stuff in it. I don't hate it or anything. It's just saw it multiple times when it came out. There was little to no merchandise. I could never find the LJN figures. I knew they were coming out, but I could never find them. They only made 3 figures. And it's something that, was sort of a begrudgingly kind of like, yeah, I enjoy it. As the years have gone on, I'm able to look at it and go, that opening sequence is great in the club. The spike room, the spike chamber is fantastic. That whole, the bugs outside, and then the thing keeps turning and the spikes are coming down. It's just very old, very much in the vein of Raiders. Ford is terrific in it. It's incredibly dark. It's like they were, Lucas was going through the divorce, and he kept pushing it to get darker, and they were, kind of giving a nod to Gunga Din with the Thugees and, crazy stuff, but it's very graphic, very scary for little kids. But I'll always love it for the bridge sequence. The fact that the climax of the film is this actual rope bridge that they made between two, cliff sides, and shot this thing with all these guys and Harrison Ford out there and stuff. and it looks fantastic. It's still like an old-fashioned kind of adventure thing. But it was not the fun Raiders type adventure I and a lot of people were hoping for when it came.
Yeah. It really, none of my friends talked about it. It kind of just went away, and I find that really interesting, to be honest with you. Just always thought that would have more of a cultural impact, but it's like the middle child. I think it actually did. It got more notoriety through HBO and video.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of relentless. It's not just the pilot's going to jump out of the airplane. Now we've got no pilot. We're going to crash. We're going to jump out of the airplane with an inner tube, inflatable raft. Then we hit the water, but it's the rapids. Oh, there's more to do. Like every sequence just keeps building, so you never get a break. And then it's compounded with the screeching, from Kate Capshaw's character, and the big meal with the gross, baby eels that you're eating, and the monkey brains, and everything about it was just like turned up.
Yeah,
really,
it's on 11.
Yeah. And you really got some relief. So yeah, a lot of people felt that way about it. So that would have been. So was the next one Gremlins? Was that like
No, the next one was Star Trek 3.
Oh, I love
Search for Spock, and that came out on June 1st. And I can remember that Memorial Day weekend. I think what happens, I went to camp for a week. It was our grade 8 class trip, because I remember the 3-hour bus ride home. This teacher that I didn't enjoy was right next to me for the entire thing, and he was going, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go see that Search for Spock tonight." And I was like, "Shut up!" I didn't see this one in the theater either.
What?
Yeah. I don't know what was going on with me, but I did rent it with my friend like a year later, and we watched it like 4 times. I really like the film, even though it's sort of a weird film. Like its plot is very simple, and not a lot happens in the film except the Enterprise blows up and they get Spock back.
I mean, that's all it is. It really is what it says on the tin. Search for Spock. We're trying to get Spock back.
It's a good looking film. It's funny. It's got some great parts.
But I think it's terrific. Like I think it's that myth that built up was, the odd numbered ones are not good and the even number whatever.
Oh, it's a good. It's kind of bullshit.
Again, it's dark. I mean, it's really freaking dark. Khan was dark. Bad things happened in it, obviously, and that was heavy. But this one, so this is a great segue of sort of callback to the Temple of Doom thing. 3 doesn't try to up the ante the way Temple of Doom did, from Raiders to Temple of Doom. But what it does is logically kind of go, this is what this friendship was. That Kirk's going to lose everything.
Yeah.
To get his friend back. And he does. He loses everything. And the best line in the movie is that when they're on Vulcan and Kirk looks up at the Enterprise in flames, and I think he says to McCoy, "My God bones, what have I done?"
Yeah.
And McCoy says, "What you always do, what you had to do, turn death into a fighting chance for life." And it's like, there you go. Life for the crew and life for his best friend. And it's a great movie. It's
if it's on, I'll watch it.
Oh yeah.
I can't say that with every Star Trek film, but that one
got Christopher Lloyd and Klingon boobies in it.
Oh, that's right.
Forgot about her.
Wait a minute, wasn't that 5?
I think there's boobies in it because she's looked at the Genesis thing, and Lloyd basically says, "Did you look at the thing?" And she's like, "Yeah, I did." And he's like, "Well, then you know what you got to do."
Oh yeah.
Got to blow yourself up. But I think there's another one in 5.
Yeah, you're right.
but she's with the lead singer of Whitesnake, Klingon, whatever that guy is.
They look like they have a Firebird in their driveway somewhere.
Right. They're carrying around a copy of Cream in their back pocket in on the planet Klingon.
Kerrang. So then after that, I don't know, that same weekend, Streets of Fire opened. I've always kind of considered that kind of like fantasy Streets of Fire because it's kind of in this, weird world, but I don't know if I consider it like, science fiction.
It's like pulp to me. It's like a pulp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I mainly remember is the numerous music videos that came out about that.
I was just gonna say, I never saw theater, but by God, I knew I Can Dream About You and the one. What was the one coming on?
You and Guy are going nowhere, baby. Yeah.
It's something about the edge of the night or something.
Yeah. I didn't see that in the theater. My sister did. I remember that. I remember coming home and telling me about that. But the next weekend, I did go to the theaters. I was excited. I went opening day to see Ghostbusters.
Okay. Now, but this is the one that you saw, but you liked it, but you don't think it holds. I forget what we said last time we did the Bill Murray.
No, I went to go see it because of SCTV. It had Harold Ramis and Bill Murray in it, and I was, a big fan of both those guys, and Rick Moranis, and who was also in Streets of Fire. That's weird.
He had two movies out that summer. Like when did that?
And so I was, I was into that film mainly because of those guys. I loved Ghostbusters when it came out. I was a huge fan of it, but I don't fully understand the fandom that has gone so huge for it. That's all. Like I guess you had to be a kid and see that cartoon show, and it's still, Ghostbusters is still a good movie, but I think I just like peaked, I don't understand why they keep trying to reboot it. It's to me, it was lightning in a bottle, that cast, that writing, that direction.
That's what's interesting about, I think, how your sort of take on things or perception about things, versus mine kind of. It's like, I can separate I know nothing about the cartoon. I'd seen the cartoon a few times.
It's a pretty good cartoon show.
I have no connection to it whatsoever. I like most of the second one just to see those guys on camera again. But again, Ghostbusters to me is just a fixed point in time.
Yeah.
That is, that the 1984 equivalent of Raiders to me, where it's just this thing that they were going to make more regardless, and I'm not going to fight it. But you cannot get lightning in a bottle again the way I think. I think that most of the affection you're talking about is really about that first film. It's about everything connected to that movie, and everything else is just sort of it's in the realm, it's in the universe, but it's a very distant second to that.
To me, it's the exact same way I feel. And this is a controversial, like I've had people want to unfriend me for this, but Back to the Future is one very good movie to me.
I totally get nothing against the other two films if you like them. God, nothing against the two leads, absolutely. But that first movie I think is just kind of a perfect movie, and they were going to do more regardless. It's just, if they'd worked for me, they would have worked for me. But nothing's going to take away from that that first movie. But Ghostbusters was, a lot of these movies too are like the 82 things. It's funny how many of them you can look at and go, most of these didn't do well at the box office. They gained popularity as the year went on, and people really recognized the worth. Whereas 84, that was a huge freaking summer. Ghostbusters was ginormous.
Well, if you look at that weekend, Gremlins also opened that weekend, and both those films went on to make combined. I'm looking at a chart here. They would have made $450 million back then.
That's mind blowing.
That's combined. That's Ghostbusters made 300 and Gremlins made 150, and that's a lot of dough.
That's huge.
Yeah, and you know, compare it to the Streets of Fire only made $5 million.
And the other thing about both of those, I would argue, the thing that's interesting about Ghostbusters, there's a lot of interesting things. There's a lot of those sort of, I love the parallel universe of what Jaws might have been, or how The Godfather might have gone, or these things that, these almost happened kind of moments. And you think about all the things that might have happened, you know, with Ghostbusters, and, you know, Aykroyd's script needed a ton of work, and so on and so forth. But it's a dark movie too. Like it's that summer of, like, most of these are, I don't know, how can I put this? Like I don't think the studios are thinking we need stuff for kids for the summer, in the way they might have with something like, you know, the couple of summers following, you know, Star Wars. Like by the time you get to 84, it's like these are all pretty dark films. Like Ghostbusters would be genuinely too scary for little kids. There's scary stuff in it. Gremlins, I think initially people thought they were getting another E.T. kind of thing. Like it was Spielberg. This thing was cuddly. It was going to be, you know, a fun little romp about some little monsters.
There's toys. Yeah.
There's toys. And holy shit, is it not that?
It's a dark film. Yeah. I've never seen all of it, but
it's very dark.
Yeah.
Search for Spock, you know, those Ertl toys, those Ertl figures weren't flying off the shelves. I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you who did buy a set.
But they could not keep the Taco Bell glasses in stock. That much I know. No,
I think I know why I didn't see a lot of these films. This was the summer my dad bought a speedboat.
My dad bought a speedboat.
Yeah, so this is like every Saturday it'd be like, we're going up to the lake, and I read a lot of Starlog. I remember that.
That's when I think about these times in both those years, the only way I would have known things were coming out would have been to be in a theater at a certain point, either seeing a trailer or coming a poster that you suddenly went, oh, they're doing another one. Like that's
yeah. Oh yeah.
And you
saw a commercial, you know,
or you saw a commercial which would be like, oh my God, it's coming out in a couple of weeks. But
you could read about stuff in Starlog and it could never get to your town.
We had the jump on all those regular folks because we were reading Starlog, and right. Starlog told us when these things were coming out.
And then when they didn't, you know, like I remember reading about this movie called Cherry 2000. That never. There was all kinds of. I could probably, if I thought about it, cite a lot of movies that Starlog reported on that ended up just on video. There was, a couple years later.
An issue I had with Ming on the cover, the Flash Gordon issue.
I had that issue too.
I think it had the flexi disc in it. Is that the one with the flexi disc in the middle?
Yeah.
And they had a big article about what's the name of the classic science fiction book that they eventually made into a miniseries. Not Rendezvous with Rama, because that's being done by Denny Cha-Cha. Oh, like it's the alien comes down and ends up looking kind of like a devil, and so everyone's kind of afraid. But it ends.
I can't think of the name, but I can picture the cover.
Help us, and it's something children.
Yeah.
But they had a bunch of storyboards that were done by Neil Adams. Like this thing was almost financed, it was going to happen, and I would read about it, and then it just kind of went away, and you're like, whatever happened to that thing I read about last year? That back of the magazine or something, or didn't come out. Cinefantastique would do that too. Toward the back, they would always kind of list the ones that probably were going to hit 2 theaters when they came out, sort of.
Yeah.
That you'd read about and go, this looks really cool. I can't wait to see this thing. But so far you've got some stuff coming out in the summer that's like, I mean,
but then I'm looking at this. You got Ghostbusters and Gremlins, and then I don't remember any of the films for the next 3 weeks.
Really?
You got movies like The Naked Face, Under the Volcano, Careful He Might Hear You. That sounds sort of familiar. And Grand Canyon, The Hidden Secrets. Those are the according to this list, those came out in between June 13th and June 15th. And then the 22nd, you've got more movies. So it's actually like a full 2 weeks Maybe Ghostbusters and Gremlins just were dynamos.
They would have up. The Naked Face was a Roger Moore film. Roger Moore was the lead, so that was he would try to do one movie in the off year between each Bond.
Oh, I see.
So that was his off year, and he did a movie called The Naked Face, which I never saw until video. I don't even remember what it's about. Under the Volcano was Albert Finney was in that. That's a good, but it's not these are the movies that, like, you know, if you were a kid, that one of your parents might go, what's the Albert Finney one? What is this one about?
Yeah.
What is this? What about the Great Santini? The Great Santini. It doesn't have monsters in it. What are you talking?
I want monsters and or spaceships, please, or
That's right.
both. Yeah.
So they had to still make that shit.
We
wouldn't have wanted. We would have been dragged to, like, oh, okay, I'll go see, you know, what was the one? There was one. What was the one with Jack Lemmon's a priest? And
oh God, yeah, I know that one.
I got dragged to that. Like, fuck.
He's got the young priest, right?
Yeah, like,
you come in here with your blue hair.
Mass Appeal.
Mass Appeal.
Ass Appeal. That would have been one where I'm just
more like Ass Appeal. Am I right?
That was one where I'd be like looking at my watch, going, all right, if I don't get to go to Gremlins next weekend, I'm gonna, you know, whatever it was, like, okay, I'll go to this thing. You can have your little grown-up bullshit, but I'm seeing Metal Storm next week if it kills me or whatever.
Yeah, well, I had that problem too. I remember.
Yeah, so
sitting in the car watching Hanky Panky with my parents at a drive-in.
So those movies you listed are like, those are the ones that fell through the cracks of all the giant stuff that came out. So
well, June 22nd had a really big weekend. You had The Karate Kid, a film that had inspired no sequels.
Hell.
The Pope of Greenwich Village, which was not a big hit, but it definitely is an influential film.
Oh, hell yeah.
The greatest film of the summer of 1984, Rhinestone. Yeah. And one of my personal favorites, definitely top 5, is Top Secret.
Oh, Top Secret was 84. That's right.
Yeah. Well, I was dying to see it, and it did not. I don't think it played in my area. I had to wait till video.
So rewind a sec. What was the one you said before Greenwich Village?
Well, Rhinestone and The Karate Kid.
Oh, Karate Kid. So
yeah.
Karate Kid I saw in the theater, and here's my 2-word review. Elizabeth Shue. That's all I cared about.
Oh.
But I only saw it once, and I might have seen the second one, like on HBO or something. I had nothing against The Karate Kid. I still have nothing against The Karate Kid. It does nothing for me. I watched the first season of Cobra Kai.
It was all right.
And some of the second season, and it was good. It was absolutely good.
Yeah.
But my biggest complaint was, I only care about those 2 guys. I don't care about the kids. I don't want to know about the families.
Yeah.
I don't care. When those 2 guys are on screen, and especially when they're on screen together, I just got to a point where I went, there's too much stuff to watch, and I'm not getting enough of them. And then I stopped watching it. I'm sure maybe they've been together more, and I don't.
My family stopped watching it too. They were into it, and then they just stopped. So I don't know. It's weird. I saw the first movie. I thought it was good. You know, it's a bit of a Rocky story, but it's okay. I saw the second one, thought it was a little silly. Passed on the third and fourth and fifth and whatever of the. I've never seen the remakes or any of that stuff.
But you could have. If you'd asked me when I came out of that, like, is this thing going to be a cultural thing that's going to keep going? I would have said no. It's a one-off. It's just a kid doing karate, and the you know.
It's a well done movie. But yeah, it has longer legs than I would have thought too.
Yeah.
And I think it might have had to do with the era too, right? Like, again, that thing would have been a big renter and a big, Showtime HBO type movie. So it had, the longer legs. Like Top Secret was the same way. Top Secret didn't do all that well at the box office, but it is so popular now.
I think Karate Kid did well, though. Didn't it do well?
Karate Kid was a hit. Yeah, big hit.
Because I think that appealed to a lot of, like, junior high type.
Yeah.
Summer was there. Like that was maybe a date movie, junior high. something or whatever. Your parents drop you off.
This whole list is starting to feel like my local video store. I kind of love it.
Village. I was thinking about Mickey Rourke the other day because
who doesn't?
No, listen, Mickey Rourke. I'm gonna say this till I die. And I met him once at a bar in LA, and I was speechless. This was years ago, years before Iron Man, when he couldn't get hired, and he just was there. And I just all of a sudden sat down, and there he was, and I was like, "Hey, man," and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was because Mickey Rourke was the heir apparent to De Niro. To me, I mean, and everybody kind of thought so. If you look at him in Body Heat, when he shows up in Body Heat, he's only in a couple of scenes, and you're just like, you can't take your eyes off the guy. You're like, who is this guy? What's he doing? He had Body Heat, he had Diner, and then Pope of Greenwich Village in a very kind of quick succession there. And he was doing something different. And I read the other day he got offered. De Palma offered him the lead in The Untouchables.
Wow.
In '86, and he turned it down.
Yeah.
And if he had taken that part, I think his future would have been very different because he became his own worst enemy. But his body of work up to that point, there are some great performances, and right up to Angel Heart, and actually Barfly as well. But Angel Heart is a fantastic movie. It's a very scary film, and he is.
So where De Niro gained all that weight?
De Niro gained a bunch of weight for Untouchable. He gained like 30 pounds for The Untouchable. He gained a ton of weight for Raging Bull.
But wasn't he also heavy in Angel Heart?
I think at that point that might have been right before Untouchables, and he was starting. No, but the thing is, when he met with De Palma and one of the producers for Untouchables, this is how the story goes. He was very thin and very quiet. And De Palma had known him since the late 60s,
Yeah, from the Hi Mom days.
Yes, exactly, from Greetings and Hi Mom, exactly.
Yeah.
And when the meeting was done, the producer kind of turned to De Palma and he's like, "Are you kidding me? This isn't that he's going to be Capone? This isn't going to work." And De Palma said, "Trust me, just trust me," because De Niro was like, "I need like 3 months to put on some weight." Now, he beat his body up with Raging Bull, and it took him a long time to lose that weight. But he did it again for The Untouchables. He never quite put on the weight bodily, so they gave him some padding, but you can see it in his face. Because then you couldn't do the prosthetics or like the digital thing to put on weight in the face. It would have looked ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I think
I would love to see it though.
I think the puffiness you see in the face in Angel Heart is him putting on the weight just before The Untouchables.
Yeah, okay.
That's kind of that would have been the next thing I think that he did. But Angel Heart is scary and filthy and just a grind.
That was a thing that there was a controversy because Lisa Bonet was in it, and
yes,
and she's a Cosby kid, and that's a squeaky clean image.
And I'll never
what we know now.
Oh boy, but I'll never forget seeing that for the first time on video. Late at night, just watching it.
My sister rented it. That's how I saw it.
When it gets to the turn at the end and the penny drops, and you go, "Oh my God!" Like it scared the shit out of me. Mm. But and then I think 9.5 weeks might have been right before Angel Heart, and that was a big movie. But he was something. So Pope of Greenwich Village is a great, and he's terrific in it. But it wouldn't have been something I would have seen in the theater, and it bombed. He wasn't making stuff that made money, but he was getting a lot of great reviews.
Yeah, my sister rented Barfly too. I remember watching Barfly when I was like 16, and I think he was really good in that.
He is. There's a theory about him. It's very sad when you think about it. Like he was a good-looking guy. Like he was not traditionally handsome. He's also kind of an asshole in Fade to Black. Did you ever see Fade to Black?
I have seen Fade to Black, and that was one of those movies that was like in Famous Monsters, and I really wanted to see it, and I finally put it on. And yeah, he's the bad guy, but the thing about that movie, you don't like the protagonist.
Yeah. Oh no,
he's also an asshole. So it's sort of like, oh, I'm watching a jerk get revenge on other jerks.
It's a
You
weird,
know,
yeah.
yeah.
The thing with the mother and it's just it's very campy. It's very
It couldn't not be campy. But the thing I just had with Fade to Black, and this is really veering, was it 1980? Is
thing on topic, by the way.
yeah. Well, we're talking about movies. The thing I had about Fade to Black is I just didn't know why I was watching it. You know, it's not a guy's descent into madness. He's already there.
Yeah, he's already fucked.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, I don't get this.
I don't
Speaking
think
of descents into madness, sorry, you were gonna say?
I'll say the woman in it, the lead woman. Now that I think of it, I don't think we ever saw her again. No, I think that might have been the only thing she ever did was that movie.
Wow.
I don't know.
You ever do that? You're watching a show and then you're like, oh, I wonder what else this person did. This.
Yeah.
That is it. And you're just like, why? Even people that are good or they're very memorable or you swear you've seen them before and you never see them again.
So Rourke was like this kind of not pretty boy. He wasn't a pretty boy, but he was a good-looking guy. But he was in 1941. Fade to Black, Body Heat, etc. Diner. He's a good-looking guy, whatever. But I think as the years went on, there's a theory about him that he got so disillusioned by the Hollywood people and stuff, and he was I'm a rebel and this and that. But then he never felt the profession was like manly enough. I think there was some abuse in his past as well, like from his father.
Yeah, didn't he become a boxer?
And then he became a boxer. And people's theory is that he did it to mess up his face because he thought he was too good looking or something. Like because he wasn't tough enough or hard enough looking or something. And then of course the plastic surgery got out of control and all that stuff. But it's a very sad. I'll always have a soft spot for him and that collection of films in the 80s there where he was pretty extraordinary. And signs of it. You see signs of it in what's the one? The Crossing Guard. Was it The Crossing Guard? Maybe The Crossing Guard and the wrestling one. Even Sin City. He's terrific in Sin City.
I can't bear that film, but
I can't either. But he is perfect in that.
He's good casting.
Yeah, but anyway, that's the thing that none of us would have seen.
Yeah. Right. The next, actually, I saw the Pope of Greenwich Village on City TV. That was a City TV regular. The next weekend was one of my favorite renters of the 1980s, a movie that hasn't aged that well. I haven't watched it since college, which is Bachelor Party.
My friend Paul.
Yeah.
He thinks Bachelor Party is one of the best. He thinks Bachelor Party, Revenge of the Nerds, and Just One of the Guys are three of the best movies of the 80s.
My college roommate loved Bachelor Party, and so did I. So we got on. And it still has some moments I think about all the time. But I think if I showed that to my son or daughter, they would think I was an alien. What is this? Just because it's so over the top and crazy. But at the same time, a lot of that stuff hasn't aged well. It did introduce me to Monique Gabrielle, which I'm eternally grateful for. And, it's Tom Hanks's best performance.
And also it was he had Splash, which was big. I mean, Splash was a big movie.
He makes this boob comedy.
And he turns around. So you got to.
Well, it's probably the same situation as Back to the Future and Teen Wolf. The Bachelor Party was probably already in the can.
Yep, I think so too. Or he already sort of had it lined up, and then maybe Splash Howard was like, look, can we do this one first instead? And they moved it around, whatever. But it was a weird kind of next one to do.
It'd be like you do Sophie's Choice, and you're everyone's praising your performance, and your next movie is called Fart Academy. Just
kinda.
Yeah.
Or who is it? Kevin Kline was in Sophie's Choice, right? Wasn't Kline in Sophie's Choice?
I've never.
It would be like if
Peter McNichol was in it.
If Kevin Kline did Sophie's Choice, and the next one he did was Wild Wild West, afterwards.
Oh yeah. Well, wait.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's except Wild Wild West would have to be popular because Bachelor Party made a lot of money.
Did Bachelor Party make a lot of money?
Almost $40 million.
Holy cats! Because that That must have been a $3 million budget or something.
Oh,
Right?
sure, yeah. And then you've got Cannonball Run 2 opening that weekend, which I've never seen. I love Cannonball Run 1, although that has not also aged well. And then Conan the Destroyer opened this weekend and did not do well.
No.
It's I'm not a big Conan guy, but that one's not very good.
No, we watched. I hadn't seen the original in a long time.
It's fun,
and I watched it a few months ago, and I just kind of enjoyed it for the scope of it, for that sort of, I listened to an interview the other day with Tim Robbins. I think it was a repeat of the Gilbert Gottfried podcast,
mm-hmm.
and they were talking
Rest
about
in power.
They were talking about Howard the Duck, and it was bound to come up on this podcast, and then Tim Robbins just very kind of under his breath just said, "Yeah, I know." He's like, it was the first Marvel movie.
Yeah.
kind of like a little, but it was the first Marvel movie. So you look at Conan and an R-rated sword and sorcery kind of thing, and for what it was, and that it did usher in a lot of wannabes.
Yeah, which I like better for some reason.
Well, I did. It was like it tries to be kind of more epic. It doesn't know if it's going to be epic or if it's going to be pulpy or what. But I try to just watch it for him and just go, look at that specimen on screen, And but he is. He's like superhuman in this thing. He's just so ridiculously big in this movie. But it's just, it reminds me of like knowing as a little kid, knowing who Schwarzenegger was. Pumping Iron was on like PBS, and then knowing when this movie came out who he was. And I couldn't see it when it came out because it was rated R and everything.
Yeah.
But I think, wasn't that the thing with this other one, that it was trying to be more PG and more goofy? I think I've only seen Destroyer once.
Yeah. It always gets me because it has a great opening. Like if it was on TV, it's got Mako, I think, narrating it at the start, and that's always a good sign. And then
doesn't he narrate the?
He could narrate the first one too, but he narrates the second one for sure. Okay. And you're into it, and then until you're not, and there's just something wrong with it, and I can't tell you what it is. I know that the monster at the end is really ridiculous.
Who's the other guy it's Mako and it's Schwarzenegger?
What's his name? Mr. Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt Chamberlain. Well, there's another.
He took some time off of his schedule of having sex to make a film.
Right, and when he wasn't shooting, he was having sex in his.
There was a mattress in the back for him. Yeah.
Right. But wasn't there another kind of comic relief in? Oh, what's his name? You know the guy, Tracy.
Tracy Walter, was he in that?
Isn't he in that?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I thought he might have been in that. He's one of Nicholson's best friends. Tracy.
Yeah, that's why he's Bob the Goon, right?
Yeah, and he shows up in the Two Jakes as well.
Is he really?
Why would I know that? Like, what possible reason would there be for me to know his name or that he was in the Two Jakes? Whatever. Yeah,
Tracy Walter is in that.
Okay, so he's the kind of the.
Was Tracy Walter? Was he on Best of the West? Was he Frog?
I think he was. I think you might be right.
Can you imagine? You know how like you're supposed to, when you're in acting class, find out what your essence is. So you ask strangers what you think you are, and that's who you should play. You should play your type. Can you imagine like, Tracy Walters or William Sanderson? What people would say? Oh yeah, you're that dirty guy who works in the town, the old West town.
That's your type.
Crazy prospector,
Who was the Best of the West? Because there was that other guy that was kind of the villain.
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
But he's one of those guys. It's just sort of from like the early and mid '80s that kind of always, we could go there, we could go here. Like he was that, like sort of next version of Paul Lynde, kind of heightened, kind of like a dandy sort of.
Yeah, the mustache guy.
Yeah. They were kind of implying things, but they weren't really saying it.
Yeah. He was
great though. Everything he was in, he was great. Everything he turned up in.
Yeah, I cannot remember his name. I can see him, but I can't. Is it Leonard Fry?
It kind of rings a bell.
Yeah, I think it's Leonard Fry. Oh my God, he's dead. Yeah, but he's in a whole bunch of TV credits and movie credits before he passed away. Oh yeah, of course, he was. You remember Mr. Smith? He was the foil to the talking orangutan on that show. Yeah.
Yes, in 83, right? 83 or 82?
Yeah.
Of course he was. Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Just shy of campy.
Just shy of campy. Yeah, unfortunately that guy passed at 88 or in 88 at 49. I'm not going to look up why.
Well, okay, so what happens after Destroyer?
We've got only one movie opened in July 9th of 1984, and that was The Gods Must Be Crazy. Something I think I rented, but that was one of those things that was in the paper forever. Like certain art house theaters in Toronto played it forever. And
I knew what it was certainly before I saw it. I think I eventually rented it. So it must have been 85 or 86 when I finally rented it.
Yeah.
After all that time and all the, it's one of the greatest comedies ever made, and like the international sensation. Like when I finally saw it, I just went, really?
Yeah. I had the same thing. It was overhyped.
Is this thing everybody just, keeping the art house is open for?
It's a people pleaser for sure, and it's a good film, but it's a little goofy. I remember watching it, and the guy's getting his truck stuck in the mud, that sort of thing, and you're like,
wasn't like it? Somebody throws a Coke bottle out of
a plane, and there's rip-offs of it too. I remember that too. I wish I could remember, but I'm positive that there was another movie where a caveman finds, I can't remember what it was, but it was definitely something to confuse people, like a mockbuster almost. And there was a Gods Must Be Crazy too. I've never seen it.
There was a sequel. That's right.
Yeah.
But
the next weekend, a better film opened up. At least I think so.
What was that?
And that would be Nick Castle's The Last Starfighter.
Okay, now that's another one that I don't think I saw in the theater, and
I did.
And I would have now this is where we are this mismatched couple, because it's shocking to me that you never saw Indiana Jones and the friggin' Temple of Doom in the theater, which was out for like 9 months.
Yep.
But you managed to go see The Last Starfighter.
Well, here's how it worked.
Well, let me just preface it by saying I know what a Robert Preston fan you were as a child.
Oh my God, the Music Man was my life.
So, not going to take that away from you.
And Dan O'Harely, I am the 20% Irish. No, what it was my grandparents would take me out every summer for like a 2 or 3 week boating thing. They had a little cabin cruiser, and that was their life. And they would go up and around all the lakes, and we'd go to Northern Ontario and that sort of thing. Georgian Bay. I know these are meaningless to you, but it's a 2 or 3 week period. And, you would park in towns along the way. And I just remember, it was easy going, and it was kind of fun, and it was an interesting summer. And I remember we parked in a city called Orillia, a town called Orillia. It's still there. And they had a movie theater downtown, and they had a comic store. And I kept asking, this is really going to date the time, but I kept bugging the lady in the comic store. Did that Marvel Doctor Who comic come out? Because that was when that color Tom Baker, that was just reprints.
That's right. The showcase, right?
No, not the showcase. This was the monthly series. The show.
With the new Gibbons did the new covers for and stuff.
Yeah. And I really wanted issue 1, and I think I drove that lady crazy.
I got all of those.
Comics don't come in every day. I didn't actually like that series very much, but
I just was buying whatever.
Yeah, I know. I was the same way.
I just bought everything.
But they had a theater downtown, and there was a bunch of movies playing, and The Last Starfighter was playing, and I just went to the movies. Like, it was like literally
you showed
distance from the boat.
You showed the lady at the comic shop. You said, you know what? I'm going to take my money elsewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm
I'm
going
gonna
to the movies.
$3 and see The Last Starfighter, and I'll never forget it because there was a preview for Dune before it,
Oh yeah.
and I remember for a brief second, I think they showed all the Sardaukar warriors.
Sardaukar.
So whatever, and I swore, I'm like, oh my god, is this a new Planet of the Apes? And I got excited. And then as it went on, I was like, oh no, I don't know what this is. And I was like, oh, it's Dan. And
It's scaring me.
yeah, well, for like a inkling of a second, I remember thinking they were making a new Planet of the Apes movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I guess I thought the Sardaukars looked like guerrilla soldiers for
The outfits. Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they have the head thing that's sort of longer.
Yeah, it just for that instant, and I'm a kid, right?
Sure.
But I really liked the film. I remember when my son became a certain age, I got a copy of it, and he liked it too because he's starting to get into Star Wars. I'm like, you know what? I got a good film.
Who did all the makeup? Somebody did all the makeup.
It looks like, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll bet you it was somebody prolific like Rob Bottin or I don't know. Let's find out.
Because I just got done with those. I think I might have told you, or maybe posted a picture, that 3 DVD set that I got. The Phil Tippett documentary, this one called The Frankenstein Complex, and then an additional DVD that's just a bunch of extras. But the Phil Tippett, and especially the Frankenstein Complex, where they talk to everybody from Rick Baker and Tippett and Sam Winston's kid, who like runs Winston thing now, and the Kyoto brothers and everybody. They talk about everybody from Jack Pierce to Dick Smith to you name it. And I kind of thought they'd hit something like Last Starfighter, which was a lot of masks. There were a lot of creatures made for that, and nobody kind of mentioned it because it goes right through the history. And I'm like, so who the hell did all those designs?
Yeah, it's not jumping out at me any famous names.
All right, I got to look that up.
Yeah, because it was mostly, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that this was the first and last movie to use computer-generated special effects.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But, I think the thing that really is good about The Last Starfighter is the characters. Like, it's a well-acted, well-fleshed-out movie. The villain's a little hollow, but otherwise...
I have no affection for it, but it's a fine
Oh,
movie.
I guess because I was,
I
13.
totally get why it's got a following. Like, I get why it would. The designs are great. The ship designs are great.
I think it deserved a better shake. I thought it was a solid.
Yeah.
I thought it was a solid film. I never.
Before people kind of, it seemed to take a long time for that to sort of get an appreciation.
It was weird. I mean, Marvel did an adaptation of that, and I bought that. And that's another thing I want to get into is I bought a lot of the Marvel movie adaptations because it was cheaper than going to the movies. And I remember buying The Last Starfighter one and really liking it.
And Galoob was going to do action figures, right?
Yes. And famously, somebody sent them pictures of them to Pod Stallions, and eventually they sold, and I think they're in a comic store somewhere now.
Oh, the actual?
Yeah, the actual. They're not prototypes. They're more kit-bashed proof of concept. They're mainly made from Star Wars characters and Remco Sergeant Rock figures. You can see it.
Interesting. And they were going to 2-packs, right? They're going to
be in 2-packs. I loved the idea. I loved the concept, but the film just didn't take off. And I don't think the toys would have sold, even if the film did take off, because like I've said on my channel a lot, Star Wars was the exception, not the rule. Like, movies came and went, and movie merchandise didn't always move, That's why, like, even Indiana Jones had a tough time selling toys, and that was a hit.
Well, the interesting that I always thought was weird about Last Starfighter was 2 years earlier, you had this big, expensive gamble that Disney did, which is now heralded as a classic, but at the time did okay. It was not the blockbuster that people were hoping. Tron, which was completely, revolved around the world of video games. Like, it hit like, the Tron video game came out before the film, and I think it made more money. It helped like finance the damn movie, basically.
Yeah.
But it really hit that wave of video games. So this thing, and the fact that someone was willing to take another gamble on something that revolving around, an arcade or video games or, whatever.
I never thought of that. Yeah, that does seem. Yeah.
Like, oh, here we go again, because it didn't really work the first time. But yeah, I think I've only seen it once.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've watched it a couple times. I mean, like, I don't want to say it's like my favorite movie of all time, but I think it's a fun romp, and I've watched it a bunch of times. And I showed it to my kids, and that was more fun than anything, is showing it to my son. And he's probably 7 at the time, and he said, that's a really good movie, and he still remembers it, and he still likes it. So
and it's a time capsule. That's what I think is fun about it too.
Yeah. It's very early 1980s, and I enjoy it. But then that same weekend we had Muppets Take Manhattan, which was also not a really big hit. I've never seen that one because I just felt too old for Muppets.
I did not see that in the theater. I saw Great Muppet Caper.
Oh, I remember that. I didn't even see that one in the theater.
I saw that in the theater, but I did not see Takes Manhattan in the theater.
And then the next weekend we had the Dudley Moore, Daryl Hannah, Eddie Murphy film Best Defense.
Oh,
which everyone's forgotten.
Man, Eddie Murphy, even
he's like tacked on to that film, isn't he?
There's a magazine interview I remember reading before Beverly Hills Cop came out, and there's a Letterman episode. In both of them, he just absolutely trashes Best Defense.
Yeah.
And he basically said, look, it was going to be, can you come do, a couple of days on this thing? And then they kept expanding it. They kept kind of, as he got,
you're the only thing good in this.
and kept him a few days longer than they probably should have. And he shot more stuff, but it was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And they just kind of cut together between, it's like a cameo sort of, but they tried getting more out of Murphy, and he's never on screen with
it isn't actually Daryl Hannah. Daryl Hannah and Dudley Moore are in.
Is it Kate Capshaw, right?
I think so. Yeah, Daryl Hannah and Dudley Moore are in another film
Crazy People.
Crazy People. Yeah, Dudley Moore's career just he did 10 in Arthur, and then it just kind of didn't. Nothing everything turned to zinc. It
was very sad because he was incredibly talented.
Oh, look, my favorite comedy of all time is Bedazzled.
I mean, to come out of Beyond the Fringe, but his musicianship, piano musicianship, and it always was kind of heartbreaking that it was great that he had the success that he did. I mean, you know what? Foul play, then Arthur. Everybody knew who he was by then.
Yeah, like he was a household name. My parents loved Arthur. They took me to Arthur.
Arthur was huge.
Yeah, they wanted to see it again.
Yeah.
So they took me to it. I remember that really well. The other film that opened that weekend was Electric Dreams, and somebody was just talking about this in the Pod Stallions group, how it's just like disappeared. It's hard to get copies of it. I
remember it from the commercials, and I remember
the video.
Jeff Lynne doing a song.
Yeah, Electric Dreams. Yeah.
The title song. Yeah. I'm not sure I've ever seen the whole film.
It's apparently well regarded. I remember watching a review of it, I think on probably At the Movies, which I watched every week. But yeah, it is it
the guy's like in love with his computer or something?
His computer's in love with a girl downstairs.
His computer's in love with the girl downstairs.
Yeah. I think that's it. And he also starts a romance, and it's this weird love triangle.
Huh. I'm not sure I've ever seen it, but I know exactly what it is.
And then, of course, that same weekend was Revenge of the Nerds, a film I did not see in the theater.
I did not see it in the theater. I was aware of it, but I did not see it.
And for a long time, it was a very well-regarded 80s comedy because it had likable leads. Now it's got a few, it hasn't aged well.
Which part?
I'm
kidding. You don't have to explain. You don't actually.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna.
It's of its time.
It's of its time, and it does have some. some good performances. I honestly remember going to see Nerds in Paradise, Nerds 2, in the theater, and it was just packed. What's that?
Was the second one Nerds in Paradise?
I think so, yeah. It was rough. I didn't like it at all. It was, again, like, when you sequel a comedy and you just try to beat for beat do the same movie, like Anchorman 2 or any of those, I can't handle that. And I didn't really enjoy that film. I don't think I've ever rewatched it. I've never seen any of, like, there's been more Nerd sequels. Anthony Edwards was very, very smart to, kind of remove himself from that franchise.
Did it get a TV show too, or just movies?
I think it got TV movies.
TV movies.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that Revenge of the Nerds, and then, July was like, you look at this now, and you look at our movie schedules, and you go, my God, like, this is the next weekend was July 27th, and you had Cheech and Chong's The Corsican Brothers, which I think I've seen. I think that was like their non-drug movie, because of like Nancy Reagan, and it went nowhere. And you had Meatballs 2, which, boy, I've seen.
Who was the lead in Meatballs 2? Paul Rubens was in.
I know Richard Mulligan's in it. It has nothing to do with the original Meatballs. It's not. I don't even think it's filmed in Canada.
Isn't there someone that's kind of taking the place of the Murray type character?
I'm sure there is. Like Richard Mulligan, Hamilton Camp, Archie Hahn. Oh dear God. Paul Rubens is in it. John Larroquette's in it. Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, it's got a familiar 80s cast. I just remember there was I think there was an E.T. alien in it, and remember Meatballs? Like, you'd be like at the video store and it'd be like Meatballs 8. Like, whoever was making these things had just taken the name and slapping it on to anything that had nudity and the woods.
Which is weird, because when you look back at Meatballs, it's not a raunchy movie.
No, the original Meatballs isn't a raunchy movie. It's actually a pretty honest film.
Yeah, it's not. It's not Animal House. Which kind of ushered in.
But all the 80s ones, I think Meatballs 3, the entire thing is about a guy just trying to get laid. I remember they showed a commercial for it, and I was like, oh, that looks real interesting. And I was a kid who liked movies about people getting laid, but, oh, God, Meatballs 4 has Corey Feldman in it. Oh, my.
That might be when it peaked.
Yeah, I think I'm 100% sure that didn't see a theater.
4 was a sequel too far for Meatballs. 3 was fine. Wait a minute. So, but here's what's interesting about all these titles you're throwing out. It's like, I think it became a thing where people would look at the paper and go, let's see, can I drink it? Meatballs 2. What's brand new? Yeah, I know. We already saw Ghostbusters. Yeah, I know. But look at this. Like, let's just go see Ghostbusters again. Like, you were seeing movies over and over again throughout the summer. It usually wasn't till for 4-6 months before they went to dollar theaters, kind of thing. I mean, I don't know if you have. I'm assuming you had discount theaters there, dollar theaters.
Bigger city. Well, yeah, like downtown when I was a kid. But I think summer of '84 is when it actually closed. We had a theater downtown that was like a second-run theater.
I mean, we had.
But I think '84 they shut down and became like a kids dance hall that lasted like a week. Because the kids were like slam dancing in there and stuff.
We had second run in the Twin Cities through the early 90s at least. And I remember I remember seeing The Saint at a second run theater in LA in 96 or whatever it was or something. But like they eventually, they all went away, and that whole thing was taken away from theaters, and so it became, VHS, VHS got tighter, and then DVD, and so on and so forth. But so you'd go like, well, why am I going to take a chance on Conan the Destroyer, it's not getting good review. I'll just go see Ghostbusters again, or I'll just go see whatever. And so you'd see the same movies throughout the summer, and because you knew you weren't going to see them for years. So that July seems pretty thin.
Yeah, it does. Now
comes
the big one would be after me. In that 3-pack of movies on July 27th, Purple Rain opened.
Oh,
And that was a big thing, and that's a big hometown thing for you, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, I went to, that I got into.
I'd never seen it, and I put it on with my daughter, going, "Let's watch Purple Rain." Like, I'd seen bits of it, and this is probably like 5 years ago, so she was like 11, and oh my god, I didn't know there's so much nudity in it, and like my wife, I turned it off, and because I was like, this is awkward for us.
Yes,
and
it helps the story.
I'm sure it does, but I had a laugh because my wife came home later on, and I said, "Oh my God, I put on Purple Rain, and like there's a ton of nudity." She's like, "Yeah, it's Purple Rain," like saying it like I'm just, you're an idiot, and
it's Prince, it's R, and it's Purple Rain. Yeah, there's nudity in it.
Yeah.
That was like this weird, through the looking glass moment of like, he's making a movie? Is that going to be in a movie now? Like, this really? Because, When Doves Cry was on, unbelievable rotation for however long.
Huge hit. Yeah.
Before I think it was months before the movie hit.
And I still use that.
Oh.
I make a lot of references to that song.
Oh, it's so that song, Let's Go Crazy, like most of that album, but I mean those two big singles are just like, they have not aged a day. They're just,
and it has killed me not to do like a toy video where I open it in the bathtub.
Spoilers, you gotta do that. I think you should like proofs of purchase around you instead of like flower petals, just proof of purchase seals everywhere.
Just action figures, but it has that.
That was a big, and that movie made a lot of money too. I think that was a big.
It was a big hit. It was, like it looks like a modest number now, but 68 million is nothing to.
Well, but it cost them nothing. That budget was nothing, and they didn't know what they had on their hands. Like, that thing hit at the perfect time, because 2 years later, he made Under the Cherry Moon, which, to be fair, he wrote and directed and starred in, etc. Great music. Parade is a great record. But that just bombed like a mofo. It just disappeared. So Purple Rain was like the perfect. I always forget that's a summer movie. That was a summer movie. That was
I was surprised that Gremlins was a summer movie. Because I didn't see it in the theater, but it's got a Christmas theme, so you just assume that it came out at Christmas time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before we jump into.
Buddy of mine and I bunked off of school. We went to school that morning, but we snuck out to go see Under the Cherry Moon in 86.
No kidding.
Yeah, when it came out. It was terrible.
I've never seen it.
It was terrible.
I remember seeing the poster for it.
Good poster.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think what I was going to see, but I think it was probably, what was that, 86?
86, because it had the big single prior was Kiss.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was I saw.
And then there's a great tune in the end credits called Mountain, which is like an underrated Prince tune. But yeah.
But the thing that struck me about seeing that poster, you know what? I just saw it coming off the subway. Was that I didn't know there was another Prince film out, and I watched like Much Music all the time, and I was kind of like, Prince did another movie? Why didn't I hear about that? So
see, I always get it mixed up because I tend to associate Around the World in a Day with 86, but I believe that was 85 with Raspberry Beret and so I think that was 85, and then 86 was Parade. So he had that streak going, and then even the stuff off of Parade was great, but the movie was perhaps ill-timed, ill-judged. So that was big. So what happens in August? That was the first one in August?
No, that was the last really big movie of July. The opening weekend in August, which I think it's a long weekend here, we had movies like Grandview USA, Joy of Sex, and the Philadelphia Experiment, which I believe is a time travel movie.
I saw that. I saw that in the theater.
Did you?
I did, because it seemed like it had some time travel weird stuff in it, and we saw everything.
Well, you had access to a theater, yeah.
Yeah, remotely interesting. Like, okay, I'll go see that. What about when did C.H.U.D come out? Where's the C.H.U.D? Is that a summer movie?
We'll get to C.H.U.D.
Oh, we'll get to C.H.U.D. Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, where we're going to be very excited about is the weekend of August 10th, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, Cloak and Dagger, and Red Dawn.
Okay, let's get it out of the way right away. Second best film of the summer of '84 after Ghostbusters would be The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. This is a movie that when I first started Biff Bang Pow, I had a short list of licenses I wanted to get to make action figures, which included Flash Gordon, The Big Lebowski, With Nil and I, David Bowie, and Buckaroo Banzai. And I even explored the rights at the time in the mid 2000s, trying to find the rights, and it was screwed up even back then. But Buckaroo Banzai is the perfect example of something that I never would have known about if not for Starlog. I don't think it was a cover, but it was an article, or I think it was maybe toward the back. And I didn't know who Peter Weller was. I'd never seen him in anything else. I might have known who Lithgow was. Christopher Lloyd, of course, we would have known who he was from Taxi.
Yeah, he was like the big name in it.
But it was just one of those things that I went to see, and it tickled me from the moment it started. There was no, sometimes movies sort of, they have to grow on you, or like you see it and you go, yeah, I didn't really get it at first, and then I saw it a year later and I thought it was great. I just loved it from the get-go because it was sort of camp, and it was sincere in its lunacy, and it still is. It's never going to even have the sort of cult recognition that Flash Gordon does. Like, I don't think Buckaroo, I always say that, like, Flash Gordon's a secret handshake, but Buckaroo Banzai is like, a super secret handshake, like a tiny little fan club that of people that love that thing. But it's also one of those things that kind of like Dune in a way, that someone just today, a friend of mine said, look, I've got this friend, he's an editor friend of mine, he loves David Lynch, you guys would get along so well, he's never really given Dune enough of a chance. Give me in a nutshell why he should give it another try or watch it. And I gave a couple of reasons, but I said also because of just that it exists. It's so insane that this thing happened, and we have it, and it exists, and it's a big budget David Lynch film. Well, Buckaroo Banzai is one of those things that's just, when you read about, the more I know about the process, where it was going, the marketing of it, the materials that the studio sent out that were on paper from like the Banzai Institute letterhead, they treated it, all the promotional stuff was treated as if this was a real character. Like this was, the new, we have got information is coming in about the new motion picture and the story of everybody, but he's currently on, location doing something with, with this other, spy smashing thing or something. They just, and you look at it all and you just go, I don't know how anybody could have thought this was going to be a hit or that this was going to work. And yet throughout the years, all the people that have ever been involved with it, from Goldblum to Weller to Clancy Brown to Pepe Cerna to everybody at Lithgow. And when I met Lithgow at Comic-Con for Dexter, we just chatted for 30 seconds, but I said something like, well, I won't rest until I get an action figure of Dr. Emilio Lizardo. And he just lit up. He did like a line from Banzai. Banzai, I forget what it was, but I've got a picture of him doing the line. He's standing next to me. there's something about this movie that connected with all these people that they still talk about, that it was this bizarre thing that they were all a part of. And it just threw everything in but the kitchen sink. And it's I love it. I love it more each time I see it. I sometimes get distance from it so I can try to go to it again with some fresh eyes. And it's freaking bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. And I love it. I love it. And I know you like it. You have a soft spot for it. You're not like a huge fan, but you like it enough.
I don't get it.
You don't get it. Okay.
I've and let me just give you my backstory. I read about it at Starlog. It seemed like the coolest movie ever. I bought the Marvel comic. It looked really cool. I remember you couldn't find it. Like, I remember seeing the commercials for it, but I don't think it played anywhere near me. Mm. So I ended up renting it a year later. And it's so manic that I remember just kind of being lost in it. Like, what is this? And I think I recently put it was running on some channel, and I started watching it for a little while. Because I was like, oh, Buckaroo Banzai, and I remember it really well. Like, I was watching it going, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember the Rasta guy, and I just, it didn't connect with me. It should have. It's one of those films that's like, well, I should like this, and I just, I don't hate it. I don't think it's terrible.
No, it's
but I'm not in the club.
Your response is pretty standard. It's like, there's people that I know that go, yeah, I do like that. It's weird and I like it. Or you love it, or they love it, or they just don't get it. It's not like, oh, I hated it. It was the worst thing I ever saw. It's just, I don't get this movie. And that's a response from a lot of people. And
when I was a toy dealer, I had found a small amount of those toys that came out with the car, like you click on it in the car, and I was selling those, and I would run into the crazy passionate fans, and there was some pretty interesting people I would meet, but I just don't don't get it.
It's like something that you see and you just know this is never going to go mainstream. Like, this thing is never going to, or certain shows that I've loved over the years. Like, there's so many reasons Twin Peaks should not have connected with people. It was a network show. It's still the most audacious thing ever on network television. And it's the rhythm of it and the strangeness of it. It's a miracle that it connected with people the way that it did, because everything about it shouldn't have. It's that first season, when it was a sensation for that year. But you'd look at it on the surface and go, this is never going to be more than a cult, going to last, for a little bit, whatever. And of course, a bunch of stuff happened that made that happen. But Buckaroo Banzai is one of those things that's just kind of destined to always be a cult thing. But there's passion in it, because you just say it's relentless. It is. From the moment it starts, you're given some, a little bit of backstory. You go right into the testing. What are they testing? He goes through the rock. Then there's a press conference, and he's like, oh, he's a samurai outfit. Oh, wait, they're going to play a gig that night. Wait, he's doing brain surgery before the gig. You just either go with it or you don't. And before you know it, you've got Jeff Goldblum going, well, wait a minute, 1938. What was happening in 1938, like with the War of the Worlds. Oh, Halloween, War of the Worlds, Orson Welles radio broadcast about War of the Worlds. People thought it was real, but really it was fake. But what if it wasn't fake? And right then I just went, okay, I'm in. Like, that's just completely insane. And that all the aliens are called John something.
Yeah, John Big Booty, John,
Big Booty.
Yeah.
Orphaned, and John Smallberries. And John, it's just bonkers.
It's nuts. I just think it needed to it needed to explain itself to the audience a little better.
Well, but that's the thing. That's what when I'm saying, I look at it and you go, this was never going to connect with a large audience. like there's not enough. You're asking a lot of the audience to go with. How could you think this was going to be a franchise of any kind? That you were going to keep being able to make these movies, and of course it didn't. But it's every once in a great while, years later, I would sort of meet someone that knew the film and on VHS or something. Now it's like Josh Izzo is a huge Buckaroo Banzai fan. He and I talk about it. We've talked about it quite a bit, and it's very few and far between that anybody knows that movie or likes that movie. But I just love it. I think it's terrific. And the end of Life Aquatic, Wes Anderson's Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, when they're all walking out toward the camera.
Yeah.
That is an homage to the end credits of Buckaroo Banzai.
And Buckaroo Banzai also has that wonderful homage to the Doc Savage film.
Which one?
The Doc Savage, the George Powell
Powell
Doc Savage film, where they announced the sequel.
Yes. And I think that was very much, and the team, you've got that team already. Like what was the name of Doc Savage's? What were they called? What was the team called?
Famous Five, I believe, and it was Monk, Rennie, Long Tom, Hamilton,
and Bruce Valanche.
And Bruce Valanche.
Yes,
he provided the Mary.
That's right. But I think it was totally an amalgam of all the pulp stuff.
Yeah, I definitely had a Doc Savage feel. And that's another reason that I was like, why don't I like this?
The director. The writer Earl Mac Rourke, however I forget how you say his name. He's a lunatic, absolute lunatic. When you get interviews with the director, I can't think of his name right now, but the director of the film wrote the screenplay for the '78 remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. W.D. Richter. Earl Mac Rourke wrote the screenplay for Banzai. W.D. Richter was the director, and even like some of the supplemental materials from like a DVD from 20 years ago, he talked about back in the day, like you couldn't find this guy, this writer, like he was living in a trailer, or like he was living on someone's couch, and he just had notebooks filled with, scribblings about stories and things. Well, it doesn't sound like much has changed with this guy. He never did much after that, but they finally released a book because the likeness rights and the rights of the character are still tied up somewhere. Nobody seems to know anything. There was going to be a TV series in the early 2000s that didn't happen.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Smith at one point wanted to do something that didn't go anywhere. But a book finally came out before the end of the year. And it's huge. I'm trying to dive into it, but I mean, it's almost like I'm 60 pages in and it's still almost like a preface. But this is all this writer, like he's just been, like how long has this stuff been sitting around? But it's a one-off. It is definitely a one-off. There'll never be another one. But I think that if somebody ever wanted to do like a really cool animated or anime type series and modify it, it would be a terrific show. Somebody is going to do something eventually with that property, I think, somehow.
You think? I mean, the sun's setting here.
But is it? Oh, because look, they just did another version of what's it called? What's the very first Q series? Not Ultraman, but the Q. What's the first one called?
Ultra Q.
Ultra Q.
But Ultraman has had so many iterations.
But Ultra Q is not Ultra. Ultra Q.
They're related.
No.
Yes.
Q, they are related, but Ultra Q, the new series that came out like a year ago or something, is riffing on the one from the late 50s, the very first. I
believe it, although it is a very, but it's a concept that still works, I think. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
Remember that? Do you remember that Phantom? Lee Falk, the Phantom 2040 was it called?
I remember that weird cartoon.
And it was
didn't the Aeon Flux guy do that?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Peter Chung, was it Chung or Chang or something? Peter.
Not sure.
Yeah, and it was like, what? The Phantom in the future? What? Who's doing this? Stranger things have happened. Somebody might.
Yeah, that's true.
You never know. But
well, let's do Buckaroo Banzai 2069.
That's filthy.
Have it on my desk in the morning.
I've done the Buckaroo Banzai 2069. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah.
Through my back.
How's your back? Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Come on, grow up.
We're here all week. Red Dawn was a big influential movie of the time.
Oh yeah.
Didn't they even recently remake that? It's such an 80s film.
Did you people understand it though in Canada?
No, we needed subtitles. Yeah, I mean, I don't care for the film. My wife loves it.
People love that movie. People absolutely freaking love that movie.
What I love is the terrible ripoff that Chuck Norris did called Invasion USA like a year later. That is basically just him killing terrorists and saying one-liners.
Kicking heads in.
I am not a big Chuck Norris fan, and it just made me laugh that he seemed to be just ripping off Red Dawn with that movie. The next big film was The Woman in Red, which I think that's Kelly LeBrock's in that?
Kelly LeBrock, Gene Wilder. Now I'm going to ask a dumb question because I never get this right. You know the song "The Lady in Red" by Krista Berg?
Yeah. I don't think. Yeah. They play the.
Is that from the film, or is that just some shit song that got made?
I don't think it's from the film.
Okay.
I think there was a song. I think it's Stevie Wonder, and I think it's The Woman in Red. You know.
Stevie Wonder. Is I called to say I love you?
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Yeah.
That's the big. That fucking song was. Oh my god, that song was.
Yeah.
No offense to Stevie, but if I
you know what? He's sitting on he got a Scrooge McDuck pile of money for that.
Oh my god!
I think we can poo-poo it all we want.
That was talk about ubiquitous for years. That song was just.
Yeah.
You couldn't go anywhere and not hear that song.
You couldn't get your teeth cleaned without hearing it at least once.
Funeral without them playing that song in the lobby.
So the next weekend is funny because it has it's a science fiction film, and that would be Dreamscape, a film I like and I've revisited a few times.
I saw that.
Yeah, and that's got a pretty interesting cast too, because you got Dennis Quaid and the baddie in that film. Oh God, I never remember his name.
David Patrick Kelly, Daniel Patrick.
David Patrick Kelly, who is one of those actors who shows up in films like every 5 years that you see. You
go, oh my God, where's he? Like remember
where's he been?
Remember the first John Wick?
Yeah.
And he shows up at the door, and you're like, is that?
Yeah.
David, hey John, how you doing? They come into clean up crew, and you're like, where the hell have you been?
Yeah,
he's terrific. He's so good,
and he's one of those guys that he has very memorable scenes in movies and memorable characters, but he is not overexposed.
No, he was. He had the run for, I think Warriors was 79.
Yeah, and then he was in Walter Hill. Did Walter Hill direct the 48 Hours? I think he did.
Used him again in 48 Hours.
Yeah, and he was playing Luther again.
Luther.
And he was in Beverly Hills Cop as Luther as well, which I didn't know.
Oh yeah.
And then The Crow was a big Dreamscape, and then the next thing I saw him in was The Crow.
Now that you mention him, well, he was in Twin Peaks, the original show, and then he showed up in the in a very odd way in The Return. But there's a movie that I watched not long ago, total exploitation, but it's called VFW. Have you heard of this?
I loved it.
It was great.
I mean, I don't really usually like splatter gore movies.
Yeah.
But they did the right thing in that you liked the characters.
You knew exactly what this thing was going to be.
Yeah.
Started, and you're like, give it to me. Just make it, make it crazy. And in that. So he still shows up in stuff, but he's such a gem of a guy. But here's my memory of Dreamscape. Parents had already split up, but my mother, I probably shouldn't even talk about this, but like my mother never took child support from my father. And stayed married, separated, but longer probably than, certainly than she should have, so that he could have health insurance benefits from her job,
Right.
and so that he could fly, because she worked for an airline, and he could fly out to see my brother out east for nothing, fly on pass basically. But every now and then, I think her, it was like just do stuff for the kid, like, and so my father would take me to movies, or crush my spirit when he took me to movies by saying, I saw this the week before, by the way. I saw this last Saturday.
It's on the plane.
Just as I'm getting ready to get excited. But I think it was either him or both of them that we went to see Dreamscape that I wanted to see on a Sunday. So I'm like, however old I'm a kid. And it was PG-13, I think. No, it wasn't, because maybe PG-13 hadn't happened at that point. I don't know. But they said boner. I think Dennis Quaid said, yeah, you're measuring people's guys' boners or something. And there's a sex scene in it, and there was something else in it, and I was just squirming in my.
Oh yeah.
Like I can't believe this is in it. Like, you think you're safe. I would never want to watch an R-rated movie on video like I did with my cousin with my parents in the room,
Yeah,
but
I watched All the Right Moves with my parents in a drive-in.
Oh my God!
And
Tom Cruise ghoulies in that.
You get to see Leah Thompson and Tom Cruise, doing it. And while the concept of that sounds great, it's not when you're sitting with your mom and dad in a Mercury Cougar.
No.
I've never watched that film since. I have no interest in it.
Then you're asleep.
Yeah. And I remember the next day, going, I forget. I think we went to go see driving was two movies. I think the other film was a Cheech-and-Chong, which is what my father loved, and we bonded over. And my mom.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I know.
There was a lot of boobies in Cheech and Chong.
Not this one.
But men's bottoms. I
don't remember any uncomfortable nudity in that at all. It was not their best film. I think it was Things Are Tough All Over.
Yeah.
I can't,
Yeah, they went downhill with that one. Started to go downhill with that one.
Yeah, and but my Cheech and Chong movies were like, maybe Things Are Tough All Over was the thing I saw with Hanky Panky. All the Right Moves I saw with 16 Candles with my parents. Another film with nudity.
Yes.
It was just a banner evening.
Yes, boy, it's a miracle you turned out as well as you did.
You don't know, I'm a deviant.
But Dreamscape was.
I always have to have a middle-aged couple in the room when I watch something filthy.
Wait a minute, you know who the real winner of the summer of '84 is friggin' Kate Capshaw. Best Defense, Temple of Doom, and Dreamscape.
Yeah.
She had 3 that summer.
But we got our big comic book movie this same weekend.
Our
big comic book movie based on a comic character everybody knows. Yeah. Sheena.
I was going to say Supergirl. I thought you were going to say Supergirl.
No, Supergirl, I think, was not a summer movie.
Right. The Tanya Roberts.
Yeah. Supergirl was a November open.
Speaking of boobies.
Mm-hmm. Apparently quite difficult to work with.
For boobies?
Well, no, I meant Tanya Roberts. I have no opinion of those.
They did have their own agent. That's what I heard.
That's right. Yeah. It negotiates separately.
Totally separate.
No, that movie. I think I was interested in that movie because it was based on a comic book.
Right. Of course. Not the gorgeous woman who was in it. Of course.
Well, that didn't hurt. I did not see it in the theater. The reviews were just trenchant, and honestly, I don't remember. I think it came and went. I did look at the Marvel comic, and it looked kind of boring. I've never seen it. If I have, I don't remember it. Maybe I watched it on TV once, but
I knew who she was because of Beastmaster, and she was in Charlie's Angels too, right? Wasn't she like the third level of Charlie? Yeah. So
and she ended up being a Bond girl like the next year, right?
That's right. View to a Kill.
The greatest Bond movie ever.
Tracy something. No, Stacy.
There's a scene in View to a Kill where Roger Moore falls. He's wearing like a members only jacket and he's fighting somebody. And he falls and he makes this sound that a 59-year-old guy would make. You know, like, oh.
He does one. He would do that.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, that, you know, is he okay? You know, and all the fight scenes are from like 500 feet away.
Oh no, the best scene in there. Can we at least agree that View to a Kill is one of the best Bond songs of all time?
I love that song.
Great tune.
Yeah.
That's hands down better than everything in the film. But the most awkward part of the entire film is when he beds Grace Jones. Only because in a million years, if you'd ever think who was the couple that you'd least want to see in bed together, would be
59-year-old Roger Moore with
25-year-old Grace Jones, or however old she was, looking like a space alien, and 70-year-old Roger Moore. It couldn't have been more awkward
attractive. I think you've misspelled attractive. Yeah, I know.
And then she looks to Christopher Walken in the hallway, and he gives her a nod in, like, yeah, go for it. Yeah, come on, go ahead, go for it. Which just adds another layer to, like, yeah, get in there, because maybe you'll find something out. Maybe Bond will slip up and tell you something post coitus. But yeah, that here's as a side note, as we're talk about a meta moment. The gentleman I mentioned a little while ago, my friend who loves Bachelor Party and Revenge of the Nerds and Just One of the Guys, etc., literally just sent me a tweet, the Rex Chapman feed. 37 years ago today, Just One of the Guys premiered in theaters, 1985. Just texted me that as we're recording live. So
wow, that's really strange.
So am I lying? Does he not love that movie?
He does love that movie.
So what happened after Tina? Would that wrap out the summer? Was that it?
No, then you got movies that, like, okay, you got Oxford Blues, which I can't remember, a movie called Choose Me that I don't remember. Then the end of the summer. Actually, yeah, I would like to just extend slightly into September on this one, because the August 31st weekend you have Bolero, a movie a lot of people remember but don't want to talk about, and C.H.U.D.
C.H.U.D, Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers. That's the one.
Which actually is a lot better than it should be.
It is. And it's got Daniel Stern. Daniel Stern
makes that film.
He Breaking Away, Diner. What did he do in 83? What was he doing in 83? I forget. But, Mickey Rourke is, they were together in Diner. Rourke is doing Pope of Greenwich Village. Daniel Stern is doing C.H.U.D. But, Stern ended up having a better career, to be honest. Yeah. But it's not a bad movie. It's
a lot better than it should be, I guess. It kind of reminds me of a Larry Cohen movie.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
It has that where they build the characters up a lot, and they have a little fun with it.
Is it not a Cohen film? I kind of thought it was.
Is C.H.U.D a Cohen film?
No, I think I always thought it was, because it felt.
No, I don't think he's connected to it in any way, shape, or form, but it feels like one.
Yeah. Did The Stuff come out in 84 or was that 85?
85 for The Stuff, yeah.
That's another one that you read about in Starlog.
Yeah, you read it in Starlog, but it's like, where am I going to see this?
Not only did you read about it in Starlog, they showed a picture of Garrett Morris, like his prosthetic head
in bed, yeah, with the
ripping
other two.
Apart. Like,
yeah,
you're like, well, that's kind of
gory, yeah.
In a way, I mean,
that was definitely in an 84 Starlog, because I read it on the boat. That summer especially, because there was like an hour and a half car ride to the boat and back from the boat. I would read every page of Starlog.
I picture you in the back with your little highlighter marker, like going back to the classifieds. Circling.
Yeah. Actually, that summer I did write a lot of people in the classifieds. That 100% happened. But September 7th, 2 movies came out, and they're both low budget films.
Dear Still Things is still the best. Do you have any 8x10 glossies of the Jerry Anderson series, The Secret Service?
Yes. I would like pictures of Professor Unwin, whatever his name was. The Brother from Another Planet opened on September 7th.
Great movie. That's
a budget film that I remember watching when I was probably 15 or 16, and I couldn't take my eyes off of it. Like, it is so compelling. It has zero budget. I didn't John Sayles dialogue, really witty.
Yep.
All the characters are amazing. I didn't realize that the guy playing the brother has had a very prolific career. He's been in Terminator 2.
Joe Morton.
Yeah, Joe Morton. He's really been around.
Legend.
Yeah. And I think he's actually something. Was he Cyborg's father in the Justice League movie?
Yes, he was.
Yeah. That guy really got around. It's great performance. Never speaks a word. And
David Strathairn is in that. David Strathairn is one of his first movies because he ended up working with Sayles a lot. He's in 8 Out. He might have been in what's the other one I'm thinking of? Not Lone Star, but something else. And Sayles shows up. John Sayles shows up in Brother from Another Planet.
Yeah.
Because
is he one of the aliens?
He's one of the aliens.
Yeah.
He's in. You remember because he wrote Piranha. I think he wrote the screenplay for Piranha and Alligator, and he's in Piranha. I'm pretty sure he's on camera in Piranha on screen. So he's just one of these just interesting guys that just indie type filmmaker that wrote his own stuff, and his if people don't know who we're talking about, like look him up because his quality of output is pretty fantastic. Like I don't feel like he ever really got the due that he should have with a lot of things that he did.
Well, if you look at this movie and the dialogue, he's a really good dialogue writer.
Yeah.
And this movie doesn't have a budget. Nothing really. It's just character studies, and the lead character is silent through the entire film.
For years, I would say to people, like I always use that as a reference. Whenever you meet someone who just can't shut up, like if you sat there and didn't say much, they were going to talk anyway. Or if you sat there, if they said, "Hey man, how you doing? How's it going today?" and you're like, "Oh, pretty good. I'm actually in a really bad, I've got cancer in my toe or something. I just found out, And those people that would just immediately turn it back on themselves. Oh, really? That's really bad. But hey, listen, my uncle, and then just. I always say, like, it's like Brother from Another Planet. Like there are people that you can just sit and not say anything, and they will fill the room up with conversation.
Yeah,
they can't help themselves, and that was such a great, thing, a story element to have in there that he never speaks throughout the film, and people are just kind of speaking for him. Or assuming his silence means something else, and you find everything else out about the characters on their own. They kind of tell you everything.
Yeah, it's a great plot device, and it's one of those films that it's not going to have. It's not a blockbuster, but even on its low budget, the thing I really remember about it is there's a fight scene. Where everyone in the bar, he's those men in black want to bring him back to the planet or whatever they want to do with him, and the people in the bar are like, no, you're not going to do that, and those guys are like indestructible, and it's a very low budget fight scene, but you kind of believe they are, because they just keep taking punch after punch, and there's no big theatrics, but it's a very well filmed, believable fight scene.
Well, that's the other thing about Sayles too, is like every time he did a film, it was something different.
Yeah.
Like the Return to the Secaucus 7, which a lot of people feel like Lawrence Kasdan ripped off for The Big Chill, because there's a lot of similarities with that script. I forget what he did in between. And then Brother from Another Planet, then like Matewan was like right after that, and then 8 Men Out, and then like City of Hope, and what's the one, Lone Star, the one with that kind of put McConaughey on the map after. You know, like every time he did a film, it was something different, and he's really, you're right, like his character stuff, his creating characters and writing dialogue is, second to none. He's terrific. Forgot all about that movie. That's a great flick.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that because it kind of wraps up the summer, and it's just interesting to see how films have changed. Now we get sci-fi blockbusters, and the dramas and comedies have kind of disappeared.
Yeah, it's more television. Well, it's funny you talked about At the Movies or something like that. You'd mentioned
yeah,
the Brother from Another Planet type of film would have been the last thing reviewed on the show.
Yeah.
They would have done, the big thing, the next big thing, and if there was room, they'd throw in a little smaller film that's probably going to be at 2 theaters in a major city or something, that if somebody could see, kind of thing. Because those are the ones that just slip through the cracks, But it was that's really where wouldn't you say that's right around the turn where like people would go like, well, I'll rent it eventually, like I'll see it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely where things were starting to go.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because people were starting to realize, these things come to video stores, a couple of months later.
Right.
And, I can just watch it in my home. So yeah, you absolutely have a point there.
I mean, that's a great output. I mean, a lot of those horror movies are classics. It's very, I think it's second to 82 for the amount of stuff. Although 83 might be fun to do too one day, because there's a lot of stuff that, genre type stuff. Most of the stuff we're talking about is genre stuff.
Yeah, well, that's where obviously our brains are gonna go.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to talk about Porky's. Although I want to talk about Porky's and Dr. Detroit.
Never a bad time to talk about Porky's or Dr. Detroit. Wait a minute. We did Summer of 89 too, didn't we?
Yes, we did. I believe we did.
Oh, so this is our third in a series. If you've enjoyed.
Oh, my God. Summer of 83 has some real duds in it. Let's do it.
Our summer series. Please get
our summer series where we wear shorts and sandals with socks.
Well, Summer of 83 had some good stuff, though, too, didn't it? Or was it just kind of Return of the Jedi and then...
It has so many terrible movies that we need to do it.
Okay.
We absolutely need to do it. I mean, this is a summer where on the same weekend you had Metal Storm, the Destruction of Jared Sin, and your Hunter of the Future. How... do you make
what were they thinking?
Yeah, I know. Don't you guys understand?
They would have canceled each other out.
Yeah.
You can't get
It's
that much
crazy
one weekend, you idiots.
Yeah, at least Space Hunter Adventures in the Forbidden Zone had the decency to be in May.
But you're saying Your was the same weekend? No, wait a minute. You're telling me the same summer had Space Hunter for Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, Metal Storm, the Destruction
of Jared Sin, and Your Hunter from the Future.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's too much awesome.
It's a miracle we made it out alive.
I know. The human race survived
from that. And you know what? 2 of the 3 of those I saw in the theater.
Oh, wow, I envy you.
Space Hunter and Metal Storm I saw in the theater. And Metal Storm would have been the second thing I saw Michael Ironside in.
No, he was in Space Hunter.
Oh wait, sorry. You're right. Space Hunter. Was he called the Big Dog or something?
Mad Dog or something like that. Yeah. Hey, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Sorry. That's a little preview. That's a little
taste.
That's a little post credits for the next Marvel film.
So that's our look at the summer of '84. I hope you guys have enjoyed it.
Me too. Tell us your picks of your favorite.
Tell us your favorite films of the summer of 1984.
Yeah.
You can let us know in the comments below if this is YouTube, or you can hit us up in our Facebook group, Pod Stallions.
Or just give us a call.
Yeah, you can call us 24 hours a day. Jason will answer the phone.
Hotline's open.
Yeah, I'll put your number on the screen.
1-800-666-1984.
It will just be Cars for Kids.
50 cents for the first minute. Ask your parents before you call.
Yeah, that's right. And he'll really talk slow. Hello, this is Jason Lindsay. Yeah. All right, folks.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one. Hey, I just want to stop recording and talk to you